Hello, I'm Ashley, the engineer at Andover Norton, and we often get contacted by people regarding deceased estates and the bikes that are involved within that estate when the owners have passed on. Now, the title of this video is going to be called One Skip or Two. I'll explain why when we get on to the second sad case of what we had to do a couple of weeks ago. Sadly, I knew the owner of the bikes in that second part of this video, and it was not very comfortable having to go and load two of his bikes onto a van, especially when the son who was trying to dispose of the estate was in a right 2 and 8. Now then, this bike here in the first example was someone who passed away. His wife then obviously took possession of the motorcycles, and she couldn't bring it upon herself to sell the bikes. She passed away 20 years later. These bikes were already in a barn because the owner was not well enough to ride them, and the barn was leaking like mad, as you can see. This was then up against a Manx Racer. The Manx Racer went to somebody interested in that side of Norton motorcycles. This one came to us. Sadly, there were two aerial square fours behind these two bikes lent up in this barn. They were that bad, they skipped those bikes by shoveling them off the barn floor into the skip. They weren't even in a condition that they could use or sell. Shows you how bad it is. This brings me on to the fact that if you're owning motorcycles like this, please think about what you're going to do with them on your demise. Is your wife going to outlast you? Is she going to die before you or after you? Do you want to leave her with a problem of disposing of the motorcycles? Will your family have time to dispose of the motorcycles? Obviously, they may not have the capability or the knowledge or the contacts to actually dispose of an estate where there's numerous motorcycles involved.
One eternity later.
Now we're going to do the second part of this video. Beside me, you can see that we got two motorcycles. I knew the owner for a long time of these motorcycles. In fact, his son come and knocked on my door one day at 4 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon saying, "You're the man with two oak trees in your front garden. I've been told to tell you my father's passed away." Some months later, Carl, the managing director at Andover Norton, gets a message that these bikes are for sale. Now, still unbeknown to me, I didn't know what bikes they were or what estate they were coming from. It was only when he mentioned that he'd been to look at two bikes at this place that I realised who it was. These bikes, the 19S and the Mark IIA Commando, are one owner bikes. We've sent the tank away for this to be sealed, and we're going to use that bike this summer. This bike's going to go a thorough ground up restoration. Now, what is sad about this case, the owner who passed away, his wife only lived for another two or 3 weeks or so beyond him. Now, all of a sudden, the son was left with the house, 5 sheds where it would most probably fill just the junk and the metal and all the tools and equipment and all the other stuff he collected over the years, would fill 2 30 cubic yard skips. Now, the problem with that is they're going to cost money to fill. One, they need to have a drive big enough to put them on, and then they got to pay somebody to fill those skips. Obviously, the two Nortons, he needed to get rid of them quickly because the property and the grounds and the storage space was all being sold. Time was not on his side, therefore he had to get rid very quick, and he had to sort of take whatever prices he was being offered. This is just 2 bikes. There's another 6 bikes that have got to be disposed of before they can get the estate and the land and the house cleared for sale. Sadly, my prediction is that he's going to have to get in 2 massive skips, 30 cubic yard skips. They're the ones you see at the tip sites in the UK. They are not small. Then they've got to be filled, and then likewise, he's got to pay for those. What he's going to make from these bikes and the other 6 bikes that were left there would most probably not even cover the cost. The other bikes were just 70s Japanese nondescript bikes, an odd BMW and an odd couple of little Honda C models. They're not great sellers. So realistically, that has just created work for his son on his demise. Sad, but sadly, these are things that need thinking about so that In the event that you pass away, your estate can be disposed of and people know who to contact, where to go, what it's worth, etc., etc. Or if you get to a stage in your life where you're elderly or you become incapacitated and can't ride, think about selling the bikes then, because it might be the best time to sell. This gentleman had not ridden for 3 or 4 years. Had he sold these bikes 3 or 4 years ago, he would have got 3 times the price for them. No problem at all. He would have had the time to find the best buyers and the best prices, but sadly that never materialised. So please, please think about what happens on your demise. I know it's something that we don't like to think about when we finish the last lap, etc., but sadly, please think about what you're going to be leaving and the problem of resolving any issues and any estate that you may leave behind in the future. Your family would thank you for it. Thank you very much.